Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. On behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you joined us for our three-day Metals and Mining Conference. Our next live presentation is from Phosphate. Please note you may submit questions for the presenter in the box to the left of the slides, and you can view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings by clicking Book a Meeting in the top toolbar. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome John Passalacqua. He's the Chief Executive Officer and Director of Phosphate, which trades on the OTCQX Best Market under the symbol FRSPF and on the CSE under the symbol PHOS. Welcome back, John.
Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you for having me. So I'll just get right into it. So Phosphate is a company that is into igneous phosphate for the lithium iron phosphate battery industry. So igneous phosphate is a very special type of phosphate. It's not a phosphate for agriculture. It's ultra pure, and almost 100% of it converts into purified phosphoric acid, which is the basis for batteries, lithium iron phosphate LFP batteries, which I'm sure everyone has heard about. So as I move forward here, I'll just give you a little bit of the background on the LFP battery industry. As you can see, it's growing quite a bit. Now the batteries, LFP batteries are over, 63%, and some say they're as high as 70 or 80% of all batteries being produced in the world. What's interesting too is these batteries go well outside of the EV sector. They go into sectors such as data storage, so data centers that require batteries for regulating the current in and out of the data centers. They go into battery energy storage, either in people's homes, also larger energy storage, solar, wind, and also hydroelectric storages, which are can be massive, such as what the states of Nevada and others, Nevada and California are running right now. What's also important is these go into small little devices like drones. They can go into other devices, small mobility devices, and the most important thing is to know that they're very, very versatile. So as you can see, there's also a big forecast in terms of what the sales will be of these batteries forward. So very important batteries as the world starts to move away a little bit from nickel, manganese, cobalt batteries because of their non-versatility, and move really into the LFP battery also because of its fire safety. Okay, so when we start talking about LFP battery, what's really important is if we look at here, kind of the energy transition, right? Copper as the most important for the energy transition, but number two is really purified phosphoric acid, which is what I was talking to you about earlier, which is really important for making LFP battery. Other elements of importance are nickel, obviously, graphite, cobalt, lithium. You can see, but everyone might say that lithium is the most important, but really number two after copper is purified phosphoric acid. And the markets have not really put a lot of attention into this, but they're starting to. The other thing is that, basically we have 5 phosphoric acid plants in the world, and we need to have 33 by 2030 in order to meet electrification goals. As you know, that's not going to happen, right? But we need at least one new one. Now, if you look at this little cross here, the light blue line, this is the supply of purified phosphoric acid right now in the world. You can see that it's pretty stable. They're predicting it's going to be stable till 2045. Why? Because it's made on the back of fertilizer, a sedimentary rock, not this igneous rock. We're only about 10, 20, maximum 30% of this rock can be converted into purified phosphoric acid. So there's no means of really expanding purified phosphoric acid with the means that we have today. And if you look at purified phosphoric acid here, these are just traditional uses. It's already going to outstrip supply. What are traditional uses? Well, it goes into Coca-Cola, it goes into carbonated beverages, it goes into cleaning products, it actually goes into lead acid batteries, it goes into water treatment, it goes into fire extinguishers, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals. But with LFP battery, what they're predicting here, this group CRU comes in very conservative and says, it's going to go up by this much, right? So you're going to need almost double the amount of phosphoric acid that's out there in the world. Well, if we follow these metrics here, 23 new plants, and if there's only 5 in the world, and this is the 5 in the world are represented by this, well then 6 times more would kind of be like this, right? So that's kind of probably where we are going. We're kind of going somewhere on a trajectory like that. So the goal, basically, of all this exercise was that the goal of this is the purified phosphoric acid, and that's what we need to attain. And the only way we can attain that is with igneous phosphate. That's what we have at Phosphate. So I'll show you a little bit the differences now between igneous rock and sedimentary rock. So igneous phosphate rock, as I was saying, it's very pure. When it converts into phosphoric acid, the gypsum is also pure, which can then go into construction. It doesn't have to go into these slag piles like you have with the sedimentary rock, which are a big problem right now in the southeast states of the United States. And almost 100% of it goes into here, making LFP batteries, right? Whereas with the sedimentary rock, it's really going into making mostly fertilizer, and a small amount goes into LFP batteries if possible. So that's really the genius of igneous rock. The way it was provided to us by nature is that you can get into a high purity phosphoric acid for the LFP battery industry, bypassing the fertilizer industry. That is key. Now, when we look at the igneous rock versus sedimentary rock, so this area here, all the red dots in the world, you can see that's mostly sedimentary rock. That is 95%. 95% of the world's sedimentary deposits. It's only in these areas here, the igneous area here, the blues, northern Russia, which obviously now is under sanctions. This area here of Russia, it's got some igneous phosphate. These are carbonatites here and here. In Africa, they're very inaccessible. There's some more igneous carbonatites in Brazil, but they go into the fertilizer industry because they got some rare earths in them, and Brazil's a massive need for fertilizer. But right here, right, in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec, you got this really rare igneous anorthosite rock. We've been able to process it up to, 40, almost 41% P2O5, which is almost ultimate purity. The next thing is obviously the carbonatites in Russia, and that goes down from there until you get into the Moroccan, and you get into the 30s on sedimentary rock. But the igneous rock is key. The igneous rock is what produces the purified phosphoric acid, and First Phosphate is able to produce the purest spartate in the world. Okay, this is our deposit. So that we have, it's at 70 kilometers deep sea port of Saguenay in Quebec, Canada. From there to there is 2.5 kilometers. From here to here, it's about 300 to 500 meters. And it's located at 1 kilometer from the provincial road work in Quebec. Also, it goes down about 200 to 300 meters in all of these directions. And as you can see, we've stopped here, but it's fully open at depth, right? And we've been able to take a bulk sample of this material, produce apatite, phosphate concentrate, and then make this purified phosphoric acid together with our partners in Belgium, Prayon, the world's largest producers of purified phosphoric acid. So the entire deposit is validated in that it can make this purified phosphoric acid, which is really important. Just to give you an example, just to give you an idea here, and I'm just going to clear this out here. This whole deposit here, right? Everything that you see here, without going into what can be revealed at depth, is enough to produce 350 gigawatt hours of LFP batteries. That is to say, half of the vehicles that would be produced per annum in North America, being Canada, USA, and Mexico. It's about 12 million vehicles. So 6 million of those vehicles could be satisfied by the phosphate coming out of here if they all wanted to have LFP batteries. Now that's a really significant deposit, and it's open at depth, right? So this could go on for a number of years afterwards. We think that right now, as we look at our preliminary economic assessment, it's 23 years, but we know that when we go deeper and we go past feasibility, it's probably about 50 plus years of that kind of satisfaction of phosphate for LFP battery, which is stupendous. And the NPV on this is 2.1 billion. The IRR is 37%. The payback is 2.9 years, and it's a 23-year mine life. What's also interesting is the strip ratio, right? It's a good strip ratio of 1.5 to 1. And this was done at very lower end prices of igneous phosphate, which are on the rise. What's really interesting and what we really love about it is that, the mining area would be here at Bégin-La-Marche. We would be going down this way to get to the port of Saguenay, 70 kilometers, but driving distance, right? And then at the port of Saguenay, we've got the federal port that gets us out to Europe if we need it. We've got a very large offtake of phosphate apatite and also a purified phosphoric acid that will be going over to Europe. About 25% of our production at the mine and at the secondary transformation, that will be already going to Europe. And then the other 5% stays back for us to upgrade here at the port of Saguenay, and then to resell into the battery industry or to develop our own cathode active materials. What's really important about this area here of Quebec is that this is kind of where the aluminum battery valley and the forestry valley is of Quebec. And what This has been in place for about 100 years. Now it's got a lot of trouble, obviously, with tariffs and other things that are going on environmentally. So this region of Quebec desperately needs a new industry, and that's what First Phosphate is that sunrise industry for Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec. And because of the existing industrial infrastructure, there's great labor, there's great workforce, and there's also great equipment suppliers. We're very fortunate to be in this area. You know, we're sitting at about 40 kilometers from the Rio Tinto dams where they process all the aluminum, almost for large parts of the auto and appliance industry in North America. So we're very well connected here in a great industrial heartland. Okay. Next is obviously this is our plan, right? So at the mine site that I just showed you, we'll be, you know, extracting and concentrating into phosphate concentrate, that igneous phosphate concentrate at 41%, you know, the highest purity in the world. And then after that, the Port of Saguenay making the phosphoric acid together with our, you know, strong partners. And then from there, we go into making LFP cathode active material, either on our own or together with partners, right? And then after that, that would go into the battery cells and the battery packs that would then go into, you know, automobiles or other energy storage devices. This is something we're extremely proud of here. So First Phosphate makes LFP battery cells using North American critical minerals. We did something I believe is exceptional in mining. We saw the full supply chain. Okay, really the modus operandi and also, you know, the impetus of this company since the beginning has been to create a fully North American supply chain for LFP battery cells, because right now it's almost 100% coming out of China. So what we did is we took the igneous anorthosite that I just showed you, that very special igneous rock. Okay, we got a bulk sample, we made it into phosphate concentrate, and then from there we sent it over to Belgium, and Prayon was able to make that into purified phosphoric acid. It met the spec. And then there was also a secondary recovery of iron that we got at the mine, which we sent to GK and Hoganess, our partners in Tennessee, and they were able to make an iron powder out of it. So then we took the phosphate with the iron powder, and we made iron phosphate. This is the precursor, right, to make LFP. And then so here you've got the FP, right, if I can write that down. It's F and P, iron phosphate. And then we went here to Century Lithium, which is a company out of Nevada, and they provided us the lithium carbonate. And we put those two together, and here we made LFP, right? If I can write that with my mouse, LFP. So we made LFP cathode active material. But then to make the batteries, we had to go to Nouveau Monde Graphite. They're out of Montreal. And together with our partners, Altium of Nevada, we were able to put together the world's first LFP battery cells, made 100% from North American critical minerals, and two of which, the phosphate, right, and the iron, came from our property at Bégin-La-Marche in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, Quebec. And then we also cooperated with American companies as well, and another Canadian company to get the graphite. And we made, you know, these LFP battery cells. And when we tested them, they tested at full commercial rates. They charge and discharge at full commercial rates at, you know, 1,000, 2,000 discharges. And what's fantastic about that is that then that validates the entire supply chain. All the critical minerals that went into that are now validated, right? Check, like check marks. Everything got validated. Here we go. And we got to this, the holy grail, right? LFP battery cells, something that North America does not produce right now, LFP battery cells. And if it does produce it, it certainly doesn't do it with its own critical minerals. We have been able to solve the equation, something that you know, both administrations, Biden and Trump, have had issues with China with, you know, when there's been these wars, the first thing that China comes back and says, hey, we're going to restrict gallium, we're going to restrict rare earths, but we're also going to restrict, you know, LFP technology, right, or access to LFP. So we've been able to break that. We've been able to crack that code for North America. So very proud of that. Okay, we've got the, you know, major partners at the table. We spoke about Prayon. American Battery Factory will be an off-taker of our cathode active material. Exim Bank is at the table for financing. A division of Norfolk is going to be providing a sulfuric acid. Really great collaboration agreement with our Indigenous group. Government of Quebec has expressed a letter of interest. And obviously GK and Hoganess out of Tennessee that is helping us with the iron. And then a whole host of other you know, great partners local and around the world to make this happen. Partnership is a really big thing at First Phosphate. And then obviously the management milestones, you know, we've been able to beat them. We've been very aggressive since we came into the market. We've been able to achieve all of our objectives. and here we are. We're now at 2025. We just raised $18 million. So we have $18 million in the bank, and that is going towards our feasibility study. We believe with that funding, we should be able to get through most, if not all, of the feasibility study, which we hope to bring to the markets by end of 2026, permitting in early 2027. And we're looking to have an operational mine, hopefully, if all goes well, by 2029, to be able to meet our offtake agreements, which are scheduled for the second quarter of 2029, and which are definitive. I'm very proud of our share structure. We have 176 million fully diluted shares out. Management and board still own 25% of that. We've often been buying in the market. I bought out $650,000 worth of stock in February, March, as well as my other directors when the market was collapsing over tariffs, the world, and this and that. We stepped in and we purchased a lot of stock, so we continue to buy and to support our shareholders. We've got a public float of 35%, and then we've got a network of family and friends and high net worth institutions. Just so you know, the $40 million that we've raised to date has all been raised by management. There hasn't been any kind of underwriting involved in it. And that's great because we know every single shareholder that's in here. We've had to go through, really deep pockets of capital. And we've stayed away from, some of the toxic capital that you could find out there. We know everybody that's in our capital structure. So that's important. And then also, let's not forget our First Nation has 1% of the shares of the company. Board and management, what I'd like to say about us is that we're very eclectic. We come from mining backgrounds, we come from business, we come from technology backgrounds. You can look at the company as a technology company or as a mining company, but really we should look at it as a mining tech company. And again, because as we were discussing, when we made those LFP battery cells right here, we went all the way down the supply chain, right? So we started here as a mining company, but we very quickly get to battery, right? So we've been able to prove all of this out. So this is tech. So as you go this way, we're more tech, and as you go this way, we're more mining. And we like to think of us as both, and say call us an MT, a mining tech company. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to leave you with is this slide here, which is LFP battery, right? Like only 7% of LFP battery is really EVs. That's all everybody talks about in electrification is EVs, but we got to break beyond that. This is commercial transportation, buses. All the buses in China are on LFP, sort of like small mobility, small gas, and also telecom. And then there's this really big chunk here, which is kind of like data centers, large scale energy storage, small energy storage. Like this is really LFP battery. So when things are going wrong in the EV sector and EV adoption is not that high, it really doesn't interest us at all, like with this that we're working on. And it's a lot easier sectors to be working on as well than EVs. So, please look at LFP battery for what it is, extremely versatile, very much out there. Please look at the importance of, landing this LFP battery supply chain here in North America. And the other most important thing is, we've got lithium, right? We've got iron, but what if we don't have phosphate? There's 300 companies out there, if not more, on the lithium front, on the lithium trade. What are those companies going to do if you can't find the manganese and cobalt for the NMC batteries? And especially, what are they going to do when you can't find the phosphate, right? The high purity phosphate that we talked about, way up here. What are we going to do when we can't fill that gap? So phosphate is, as they're saying, even more important, in my opinion, than nickel, manganese, cobalt, and graphite. It's the second most important element in terms of electrification. Here we are, First Phosphate is able to build that with pure igneous phosphate rock. Okay, so I wanted to thank everybody for listening. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to get to my questions. Let's see if I can get this thing figured out here. Trying to bring over my questions. So my first one is here. How does First Phosphate igneous phosphate resource compare to other global suppliers? And what are the implications for cost, purity, sustainability for LFP batteries? Yeah, so that was great. I think we answered that question in this slide over here. I'm just going to slide again. So in terms of we can attain the top purity in terms of phosphate concentrate. our cost is very low. When you look at the cost of our phosphate, we can bring it in at almost, under $100 US per ton. This stuff is going right now for about 350, almost 400, and it has on as high as 400 to 800. At that level where we can bring it in, and that's with our secondary recoveries being included, we're at a very low cost. We're about almost as low a cost of as the rock and phosphates. But again, we're not even sitting in agriculture. We're sitting in high purity phosphate where there is the premium. So I think we're in very, very good shape in terms of the cost curve. And again, as we were talking about right here, like, the price of phosphoric acid is only going to go up. They're talking about this kind of shortage. We know the shortage is going to be this, but look, no one can supply it, right? That's the supply. It's not going to budge unless you got igneous phosphate to improve that curve. So we think it's just, it's all upside from here for the company. You asked about sustainability. So we talked about this as well. Sustainability here is obviously, the gypsum byproduct, because it's so clean, can be used in modular construction. It can be used in plaster and in walls, etc. Whereas, sedimentary deposits, we've got these slag piles are a big issue. So extremely sustainable as well. I'm trying to get down here to my next questions. Let me see if I can do this. Here we go. Perfect. Okay. Can you discuss your capital position, and do you have funding needs as you move through milestones over the next 12 months? Yes. There's over $18 million in the bank. It has been raised over the last 5 months. That takes us out to the end of 2026 and beyond, and it should be able to get us through our feasibility study, after which time permitting will start. So we're very, very well capitalized, and we're very happy as to where we are. What are the catalysts investors should watch over the next 18 months? So the big catalyst should be, right now, the stock is trading at about, 4 to 5% of the value of its PEA. And we're cashed up when we're ready to, execute on our feasibility study. So you should be watching, us hitting all our milestones along the feasibility study, things such as, the bulk sampling being finished, environmentals, initial drilling, starting metallurgical work, and starting desktop work and getting through that for the feasibility study by the end of 2026. And we also got a lot of downstream in the company, so look for hopefully some surprises along the way as well. How does First Phosphate's igneous? No, that one we already asked. That one. Can you start producing revenue right away in 2027 with the proposed iron phosphate plant? Yes, we announced an iron phosphate plant that was going to go live in about April of this year. That's kind of on hold at the moment. We're waiting to see how the geopolitical situation, tariffs, trade wars, and all that sort of play. But that is in good situation. We're working hard on it, and yes, that could produce some revenues by 2027 potentially. We have to see how things play out. Can you speak to any offtake processing partners, downstream JVs you have in the place? Okay, so we do have in place, offtake agreements with a very large European offtaker. Definitive, it's bankable. Like I said, it's for 25% of our mine, and it's also for about 25% of our downstream processing. That's about all we want to lock up. We could lock up everything right away. There's no shortage of bidders on it, but obviously as a company, we just felt that prudent just to lock up only the 25% of deep. It makes us bankable, but it also doesn't encumber us for the future. And by the way, the 25% of the apatite, the phosphate concentrate at the mine, and the 25% of the phosphoric acid downstream is locked in, but at full float with the market price. So it doesn't. We haven't locked in economics, okay, which is great. What does gross revenue of 350,000 tons per annum of purified phosphoric acid look like at today's prices? Okay, so purified phosphoric acid it probably goes for about $2,000 per ton, give or take, US dollars. So you can multiply that out and you can do the math for yourself. That would be downstream. That would be the second transformation. So the first transformation, phosphate concentrate, like I said, we have 900,000 tons of that. That currently is going about 350 to 400 USD per ton. 75% of that will be consumed by ourselves to make phosphoric acid. And then, as you were saying, there's, purified phosphoric acid is about $2,000 USD per ton. So I hope that answers that. I don't see any other questions here. If you have any other questions, you can just put them in quickly in the chat. So I don't see any further questions. So I'll just leave off again. You know, as I was saying to everybody, I'm bringing back up the slide here with our, you know, the batteries that we were able to produce out of, you know, fully North American critical minerals. That's really important, right? This is something that, you know, very few companies have been able to do, get end to end from, you know, the mine all the way down to the finished product. This is critical. This is essential for North America, for North Americans' energy independence. And the other thing was saying, you know, you can't really unlock the lithium in here to make the LFP without the phosphate. The phosphate is key. And where do you go to get the phosphate? You can't really get it anywhere. We don't have the reserves in North America. The sedimentary reserves are just good for fertilizer. They're already maxed out for any purified phosphoric acid that's being made. You have to go to the apatite in order to the phosphate concentrate from igneous rock in order to make purified phosphoric acid. It's the only way forward that we can satisfy, you know, these massive needs that we'll be needing in the future, right? These needs here, which we said are already going to be something like this. Okay. I got a question. Est-ce possible de poser une question en français? Oui, bientôt. Bien sûr, allez-y. Pendant que vous posez la question en français, c'est ce que j'ai fait. Je vais prendre une autre question ici. Can you address the recent life financing news and then withdrawal? Okay, interesting. Yeah. So as you know, the company has raised $18 million in the last 5 months. After that was raised, we were approached to basically raise another $15 million on a life offering. We thought that was a good thing to do at the time because obviously it would, you know, further capitalize the company and get it right through way past the permitting. But it was recently pulled. We will be addressing that very shortly. We pulled the release yesterday, and we will be addressing that very shortly. There was a little bit of a noise in the marketplace that caused some volatility, and so that will be addressed very shortly here. But thank you for that. The company remains very well financed, and you know, we will be getting to a next offering whenever we can. Probably not for a while, as we remain quite well capitalized now with the $18 million that I mentioned. Okay, I think somebody wanted to pose a question in French. Vous pouvez poser la question en français ou j'attends la question. Sinon, vous pouvez toujours m'envoyer une question directement sur mon courriel, John, John, @ firstphosphate.com. Okay, so with that, I'd just like to thank everybody for having been present. It's been great to be on OTC Markets as usual, and I look forward to seeing you all at conferences or in the market or whatever it may be. Thank you so much.